Thinking about self-publishing and don't know where to start? Join the Spa Girls each week for 30 minutes of honest advice, tips and resources. I'm Trudy J and I am here with Wendy Vella.
Hello.
And Shah Barrett.
Hello.
Hello. You sounded like you were going to say something.
I feel like we should have a jaunty theme tune at the start. Just saying.
But
like, what kind of after 6 years you want a jaunty theme tune?
Well, there's four of us and we can't decide on one theme tune. So it's
do we have horns? Do we have trumpets? Do we have like some cool kind of synthesizer?
We should have theme music to something like the A-Team or
Charlie's Angels.
Oh my goodness, you guys are showing your ages here. The A-Team.
MacGyver. What was MacGyver's theme
MacGyver
song?
Was cool. Anyway, what topic are we talking about today?
Yeah. Right. Today we are talking about how to believe in yourself when no one else does.
But we're doing a positive spin on it. This is
not negative. We're positive.
This is you are not alone.
You are not alone.
And feeling
you are
never
alone. We are here for you. Alone. Oh, you can see this is going to be one of those.
Yeah. Go,
fire in the hole. Okay, believe in yourself. So there's a lot of easy ways not to believe in yourself with self-publishing, right? So
yeah, we're all good at that.
We're amazing at that, like thinking that our writing sucks, or that we're maybe not smart enough, or that we haven't got enough time, or
we haven't got enough money,
or maybe people are not going to like our books, or
what are we thinking?
What are we thinking? What are we doing? Maybe
there's a million books up there. Why do they need mine?
Yeah, how are they going to find my books? No one's going to find my books. Oh my goodness! Like there's
not enough people in the world keep buying my books. How do I think I'm going to keep selling them?
Yeah, like maybe there's not enough people to continue buying. So these are all thoughts, right, that we have as writers.
Funny how they come very easily to us, isn't it? Because there's no pre-planning for this. Shocking, I know.
Shocking. And you may notice that they're all quite negative, these thoughts that we're having. So believing in yourself, is it like, how do you keep going when you're sort of thinking all this stuff? And to me, a lot of it is changing how I believe, like changing how I'm thinking about myself, and changing how. So I'm working on a lot of that this year. Working on thinking, no, my books are great. I love my writing. I love my books. All these kinds of things. And once you start, and I know that's very easy to say, right? Like, so people go, well, or maybe someone's sitting there going, oh, I love my books, but no one else around me believes in me. So we'll come to that. But I'm just saying the very first place to start is in you and inside yourself, and to look at how you're looking at things. And are you being really negative? And are you thinking these terrible thoughts about your writing and you and your book and I'm not good enough and all those kinds of things? Because if that's what you're thinking, then that's what you're putting out into the world. And if you're putting out that into the world, then no, you're not going to get anywhere.
I think it's really important to actually notice it. That's the first start. The old mindfulness thing, always notice first. And I think it's really important that you actually start paying attention to how you're thinking and what you're telling yourself is really,
because they are quite automatic. Right.
Yeah. Negative thoughts are quicker than the positive ones. They're the ones that are in there.
And it's the old story. You can have 100 reviews and 99 can be positive and 1 can be negative. And what's the one that you talk about that you can almost remember word for word is that one negative.
And validation.
Our brain is wired that way. So just accept that that's a biological wiring and work with that, and don't kind of give it any more attention.
And sometimes you just need to think, like pay attention. So if you say, oh, there was this one negative review, go and make a point, like notice it, look at your mind, look where it's going, notice it, and go and look at all the positive reviews.
Yes.
Or even better, go look at all the negative reviews that are on really popular authors that you love. Like I've got these authors who I think are the best authors ever. Like the writing's amazing. I love the story. I devour it. And then I'll go look on their Amazon page for the book, and there'll be negative reviews. And I'll be like, what are they on? But that's actually really good, because it just shows you as an author that actually there's always someone. There's always going to be someone.
It's a mental game for me. Everything changed when I realized that I didn't need validation from other people.
Yeah.
And that's something, it's you've got to get to that stage. You've got to go, well, why aren't these people going, you're a really good writer, I really love your books, or I love that story, or go you for being an author and being home and writing full time. But as soon as I realized that in actual fact I don't need that from them, I've just got to be happy within myself, when I get there, I'll let you know. But, it's,
Meanwhile, we love you,
know,
Wendy.
yeah. No, but it's the truth, isn't it? You can't
Yeah.
keep seeking something from people that aren't going to give it to you too.
And isn't that the truth? I think that
Yeah.
we're all looking for that external validation, whether it's like you say.
Absolutely.
I mean, and in some ways it's a weird sort of world, the self-publishing world, because up until now, publishing has been closed off to 95% of us. We all attended those conferences
Yeah.
over the years where we'd pitch to an agent or pitch to an editor, and then they would talk about getting 500 queries a week, and they'd take 5%. So you kind of knew the odds were stacked against you, and you're always seeking that validation from somebody else, that kind of the golden ticket, if you like. Self-publishing has opened it up for all of us now, and so I think in some ways we've transferred our validation onto our want of it to sales, or often to our family and fellow writers as well, and some people obviously are still doing the traditional path as well, and that's that, or they're staying in a place, and I'm going to go out on a limb here and say this, they're staying in a place where they're working very hard and writing maybe for a traditional contract, or staying with it because their validation is in many ways so important to them from that, than possibly taking the plunge, and probably the more financially
Which is okay
thing,
if that makes you happy.
Well, that's the key though, isn't it? It's what makes you happy, and I think there's a lot of I think it's a lot of human nature to stay stuck in a zone where you're not necessarily happy, but it's a known thing. So
if you're someone, for example, who is stuck is in a traditional contract, for example, and you feel that you need the validation of an editor to get. Now, the point number one I'd make is that editors don't know what's going to be successful either, and a lot of publishing houses will throw a whole bunch of stuff at a wall and see what sticks. And if your book doesn't stick, then you're gone. Like, there is no kind of loyalty or anything like that, because they're a business. But but they don't know, so they might be saying, validating your writing, they might be validating saying this book is something that they personally like, but that doesn't mean that it's going to hit worldwide success. But you can recreate that same kind of situation for you in a self-publishing world. So if you need someone to come along and validate you in an editorial sense, as in look at your writing, you can hire an editor who maybe is working freelance, or has been previously worked for a publishing house, often because they've been made redundant, not been fired or whatever. So you don't necessarily look at why you need the validation. Or
I think that's the key, isn't it? Look and understand what you want.
Yeah, like what you need out of it. Like, so if it's just you need someone to kind of come along and make sure that the book is where it needs to be, you can hire someone to do that. No worries at all. And get that same thing, and then have the benefit of self-publishing.
And I would say, again, probably from the history that we guys are coming from 20 years of attending writers' conferences before the self-publishing time, agents and editors were held up on pedestals. They were like gods. You didn't dare speak to them in the bathrooms. You didn't, you basically bow down to them, was kind of the messaging, I think, that we were given, whether directly or indirectly, as attendees. And for a lot of us, we recognize now they're just human like the rest of us, and as Trudy said, they don't have all the answers necessarily. So I think that's a key to believing in yourself, is just acknowledging that you are just as smart and just as capable as everybody else out there. Nobody has all their crap together.
Ducks in a row. In a row.
I love that story about Neil Gaiman tells about how he was at some event somewhere, and he was standing in at the back of the room, kind of listening to some person speak up on the front, and then he's got all this crowded room full of all these amazing people, and he's sort of standing there going, I feel imposter syndrome, feels a bit of a fraud. And he was chatting to the guy next to him, who was also called Neil, and the guy happened to sort of say to him, I feel like a bit of an imposter being here, I'm not, what am I doing here with all these amazing people? And Neil said, if Neil Armstrong thinks that he's not really in the right place and is feeling a little bit of that everyone feels it, right? Like,
everyone suffers with it, right? Yeah.
It's so true.
It's
so true. I think I saw something, I can't remember, it was on a podcast that I listened to the other day, and it was basically, the message was, everybody else is a hot mess too. Like, So
And
don't
it's
buy into the
okay.
fallacy. It's fine. Don't buy into the fallacy that they're better than you, or that they're smarter than you, or they're more talented than you.
Yeah. And this is something that I've been working on personally, and it's something that I've gotten through Brooke, but it's the idea.
Oh, your best friend Brooke.
I know, this is shocking.
Who's Brooke?
Shocking.
Who's Brooke?
I'm not telling
Trudy?
you.
Never
I'm not
heard her
telling
name
you.
before.
I'm not
The
giving you
wonderful
further
Brooke.
information. If you don't know who I'm talking about now, dear listener,
Brooke
dear fellow Spa
Castillo.
girls, then I'm not telling you more. Anyway, so Brooke says one time at band camp, Brooke says, so, okay, I'm back on board now. So the idea that you are worthy right now, right here. So stop what you're doing, think about yourself and go, I am worthy. Like, and when it first started doing this, I was like, no, that feels awful. Like, yuck. Because I didn't feel worthy. I felt like I wasn't doing everything I needed to be doing. I was, I was judging myself. And I have come to a point where I can kind of go, I am worthy right now, right here. I'm still overweight. I still don't know what the hell I'm doing. I'm still, all over the show, but I'm worthy, and that's cool. And I don't need to change in any way or do anything new to be worthy. And that is an amazing feeling, and I feel so good and strong in that. And it makes me and think about how it makes you feel, because I just suddenly feel really, I've got the tingles going down me, and I'm like,
and
you
feel lighter.
Yeah.
And it takes a while to get to that point, though, I imagine. I'm not there.
No, you can't do it immediately, and it's something I've been working on for a while now, and it's just changes my outlook. Like it makes me feel, and it's not that I'm perfect or I'm doing all these things, but it's just, it doesn't matter because I'm worthy. So just think that through, and
I am worthy.
And you're worthy before you've sold a single book, or before you've made a single ad, before you've whatever. So here's the tricky thing, I think, and it's human nature to want support from our family and friends when we're trying something, particularly, and it's scary when it's something creative. And a lot of the time, the people around us that may love us the most aren't of a creative bent and don't really kind of get it, or they see us stressing over workout, or see us, beavering away at night when the rest of the family's doing something else, and kind of possibly even resent it a little bit that you're not there for them all the time. That can be really hard.
I sometimes think that, like, so for example, my mum, I'll be working really hard. She goes, oh, do you need to keep doing that? Like, she'll kind of be like, and she's saying it from a place of love. Like, she's not down on me about it. She's just kind of like, she looks at me and thinks, oh, I'm working too hard. And take time off.
You're at home. Why can't you work from home? Surely you can just stop. That's what I get. Surely you could just stop.
But she's not doing it from a bad place. They're not doing it from a
lack of understanding.
It's just lack of understanding, like not
Or she's seeing you possibly, your face screwed up and you're focusing on concentrating on something or whatever, and she doesn't want you to be in pain, if you like.
And that's a real mum thing. And they don't, and just because they don't understand what you're doing, they don't understand your drive or your goals or whatever, that I think you have to say these things, but
you have to make yourself the priority. And I sometimes think we don't.
Very hard.
As mothers, we don't. Like, I fit all of my writing in around everything and everyone else.
Yeah,
I do.
Even now,
I always have.
Wendy.
Even now, I work mornings. I get up in the morning and I work, and then I'll work 3 or 4 hours at night. In front of the TV, and like even now, I fit everything around everything else, and that's something I need to get my head around, and start focusing. I'm getting better at it, but
and I think that's the thing too, the whole thing about believing in yourself, and a lot of that comes to how you are treating yourself, kind of thing, isn't it?
Well, if you don't take yourself seriously, no one else is going to.
I think so too. And I think,
and I want to go back to the idea of mum or whoever else saying things that you kind of like, when mum says to me, "Oh, take a break," and I'm going, I can't. I've got to finish this thing. I've got to do this thing. And I used to kind of feel a bit hurt by it, and a little bit upset. And it's kind of like, now I don't, because now I kind of go, you know what? I know and understand where she's coming from. She's not doing this out of anything mean. she just doesn't understand it, and I can keep moving on. And I just explain quietly that, I've got to keep this going because I've got to get this done, whatever, like it's fine.
Yeah.
But I think that's the thing, like people will say stuff to you, people will, and whether it's intentionally hurtful or not, it's kind of, you just have to kind of,
I think
but everyone's coming from a different place. So.
Everybody is.
So you don't know what there's going on in their life. Like someone might pull up in a car who's a friend and they look like thunder. And you think, oh, what have I done? Why is it? Why is she looking like that? But in actual fact, she's just driven for miles, had 2 screaming children in her car, and it's not even directed at you. But instantly you fed off that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you start telling yourself stories about why they don't like you.
Yeah. That's the truth.
So I also think too, though, sometimes when we're changing or when we're trying something and putting ourselves out there, shifting our comfort zone, maybe trying a side gig of writing or trying it full time or whatever, is can be quite threatening to some people as well. People don't like, it's
they don't understand
it. They want you to stay in your, here's your role. Your role is this to me, and you're now doing this, and that can be cause a little tension as well. And I think that's where working on your whole self-belief really needs shoring up, because you're not going to get fanfare all the time necessarily, and often it might be your spouse or people closest to you that actually don't want you doing that. They don't see a point in maybe spending money on a course or whatever. Then and the thing with writing, it's not tangible until you've actually got a paperback in your hand. So much of it is kind of invisible.
It's the unknown. The writing is the unknown. We don't know writers besides ourselves. You can't walk down the street and knock over 50 writers, whereas you probably would, a builder or an administrator or whatever. It's a different gig because people don't get it. Oh, what does it mean? What do you mean you're a writer? What does that mean?
Which means to me that one of the important things about I know we're talking about how to believe in yourself, but actually having a tribe of author friends can be really helpful, because there is a lot of misunderstanding. There are a lot of myths and beliefs around writers and what it takes and what's involved and how much money you should make or shouldn't make or any of that kind of stuff out there in the world. And I think having a group of like-minded friends who are authors who understand that, and I would say specifically self-published authors, because I think authors who are traditionally published have quite a different mindset to it than we do. Like there's a very entrepreneurial kind of aspect to what we do that I don't think, I mean, there may be some, but on the whole, traditional authors don't have. So I think that would just help you kind of at least be in the zone and the right, understand that maybe these other people who don't understand the industry, who are your family, who you love and care for, but it's okay that they don't necessarily know the right thing to say or don't know how to deal with you doing what
you've
got
to teach them too.
Well,
you can't just go, oh, well, I'm not going to talk to them anymore if they're going to about my, it's like a get all pissy about it. It's got to be a, okay, well, here's the thing. This is important to me. This is what I do. This is what my future is going to be. And I've had that, I've been writing for many years now, and I still, people will say to me, oh, but you don't really work. Do you? Again,
it's all about them though, isn't it? It's their filter. So to them, work might be picking up a tool or making a cake or whatever. It's that visibility, and it's going to be interesting though, isn't it? So going back to the work from home thing, you're not really working if you're working from home. Having had this year, we're recording this at the end of 2020, where working from home has basically hit the mainstream. Won't that be interesting to see? Suddenly, is everybody now
working
giving more
home.
credence to working from home? That will, who knows?
We're understanding that there are actually things that are hard about it, like any workplace.
Look, it is hard to get your family on board though, right? Like my husband, when I very first started, he sort of was, now he's all like, he's retired. I'm going to retire him next year, and he is going to be the house husband. He's really excited about it. And he's like, you've got your office.
Does he still cook all your dinners and stuff? Like, does he?
We share, but what he will do is he will do everything. He said to me, "You just go to work." That's fine, basically, because he works hard now, and he's got a physical job, and he's an engineer, and he gets very tired, so he comes home and he physically can't, because at his age he's now knackered. But yeah,
It's
but
not that old, by the way.
no, it's not that
I'm
old.
just saying.
But what I'm saying is, if a physical job and it's quite hard on him. But what I'm saying is, we're going to move and he's going to retire, and he knows that for him to retire and me to work, he has to take over all the housework. He has to do all the cooking. He has to do,
That's
and so
the thing. Actually,
that.
that's a really good point, because I think there's, even now, even in this 2020s, women are still doing a huge amount of not only the labor around the home, but also the emotional labor, if you like, around the home, of setting up the social functions for the family, remembering whose birthday is, all of that kind of stuff. And I think
It'll be, I'm just going to be tag you're it with him. Like,
sometimes
he's doing it.
something
He'll do
has
it
to
way
give.
better than me, just FYI too.
The point there maybe though is that maybe when you first started, okay, you weren't earning the money you are now, but this is something that you've come to over time, right? Like, so do you think that maybe when you first started writing, he thought to himself, yay, I'm going to be a house husband? Or is it something now he can see that actually it would be an amazing thing to do? And it's because over time you guys have kind of worked through your the sticking points around what you do. And
look, he's always believed in me. Like I could have come home and said, I'm going to dance for the Royal, British Ballet, and he would have bought me my shoes. Don't get me wrong, but it's very hard. He's a very practical man. And for him to go, me to just turn around for years of selling real estate or whatever I was doing at the time and go, I'm gonna have a crack at this writing. I'm gonna do it full time if I can, rah rah rah. Yeah. And I'm a really very all in girl in that sort of situation. If I start something, I'm so for him it was an adjustment mindset, but of course he works in dollar values. So as soon as the dollar started coming in, he was all over it.
And a lot of people are, when they don't necessarily understand something, they understand that, because it's kind of universal, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, and the good thing is he started to understand that I have to invest to do well, like going to RAM, going to England, those sort of things. He's like, oh no, you need to do that, because that's what's and that's the truth of it.
Yeah. And I mean, really, it is no different to whether you're writing part-time or you're writing full-time. It's still, you're basically a self-employed business person. It's no different from setting up a retail store,
you're running your own publishing company.
You are. And that can be difficult for some people to wrap their head around. But I don't think you necessarily need to don't necessarily need to understand the industry, but I would say
all at once.
What makes me sad is when I see some authors talking about their significant other almost undermines their writing, undermines their dream, and I'm sorry, but that's not good. And you shouldn't have to put up with that. They don't have to understand it, but they should support you, in what you want to do. I just don't think there's any room for that. I mean, I'm long divorced, but probably the most supportive person in my life is still my ex-husband. And so, no, you deserve better than that for yourself.
You're worthy.
You're worthy of that support without a 6-figure income beside that support. You're worthy because it's something you want to do. So,
but it's about,
girl.
So the tricky thing there is, okay, the title of this is Believe in Yourself When No One Else Does, right? And so you've got someone in your life who kind of doesn't really believe in what you're doing. It's almost like, as long as they're not physically holding you away from it, they don't have to believe
or more importantly, mentally holding you away from it.
But maybe sometimes if you know that person doesn't approve or doesn't believe in you, you might stop doing it. And what we want you to do is kind of say, as long as, I mean, there's two sides to it. I mean, maybe this person is your husband and they're just disapproving, right? And they think that you shouldn't be doing it, but they're not going to stop you doing it. So don't worry about it and keep doing it because you can believe in yourself. Like, that's maybe different from someone who is kind of haranguing and
it's addressing that too. Why don't they believe in you?
Yeah,
quite often it's coming from a point of misunderstanding. It's like maybe you're like me and you've done a million things in your life and you're like this and this and you float and then this one thing is going to stick. And they don't get that.
And
because they've seen all
they've been doing 9 to 5 and you know.
And I would say if it's that point, then I actually would say get a third party to talk it over with, because sometimes somebody else explaining it's very hard to explain when it's you, and it's easy for us to get kind of super emotional, and it doesn't necessarily convey it well. But I would highly recommend, if you're in that situation of almost like a conflict over it, to get some outside help for that, because it's going, not least of all, it's very hard to be creative when you're unhappy.
Yeah.
Or
but
resentful.
I think we feel like when we're talking about that kind of stuff, we're moving well away from the idea that we were kind of trying to convey, which was the idea that, you know, maybe there would be people in your life who wouldn't understand or wouldn't kind of get what you were doing, but it's okay. And you just need to focus in on yourself and your own beliefs and do it anyway.
And the vast majority of people will get it eventually, but it's probably a time thing, you know.
It's self-belief is massive. Believe in you, you know, and
work on that. Work on changing that belief for you than trying to change other people's minds.
Yeah,
probably.
Because you're not going to change other people's minds. Or, I mean, you can try to change other people. And like with Wendy's, and I guess same with my husband, like over the time he sort of gets it more now. Like I'll say to him, I got a book club, and he'll go, yay. Maybe
my husband's the same. It's like, we got a book club this month.
Yeah. Whereas so they kind of absorb it and they kind of get it and they'll figure it, you know, along the way. And that's a different thing. But don't just it's about you and your own belief and your own kind of,
and also setting up your own little support team as well. I think that's, as we've talked about that. The one thing I would say is don't have an expectation of keep your expectations realistic, and don't expect that your entire family and friends are going to go out and buy your first book and leave a review. And I've seen a lot of people feeling really hurt that they don't. It's not because they love you less, but it's just particularly if they're not readers, it just doesn't kind of resonate. And I know that you would probably do it for them, but it's the old story. That's what you would do, but people are fundamentally pretty self-involved. And so it's not personal. It's just it doesn't kind of occur to them probably. Even if you ask them, they'll probably say, oh yeah, I must get that. But it's kind of a nice thing to say rather than I'm going out to get it. And if they do, that's a huge win.
Yeah. And to be fair, I feel the burning desire to point out that you actually don't want your friends and family to go and buy your book.
Exactly.
Because it messes with the algorithm on Amazon. And if you've got some person who normally reads thrillers coming along and reading your romantic comedy book, it's going to mess everything up.
So it's actually a good thing.
Yeah, so don't even expect them to buy it. Just leave them.
And the thing is, the ones that you don't expect to buy it, like my sister, who's pretty unassuming and just sort of gets on with her stuff. And I was talking to her the other day. She said, oh, when's your next one coming out? I'm like, what? She's like, oh, I've got all of them. Of course I've got all of them. I might skip through all the naughty bits because the thought of you writing them disturbs me intensely. But you know, I really like this and I really like that, and I'm like, dude, you know, like that was so sweet, you know, you just when you least expect it, you know.
I think so. I think go for that expectation. I agree.
Don't expect, because you will set yourself up to fail.
You can expect things that you can do that are based on your own effort and but just don't put all of your self-esteem and your self-worth in other people. Put it in yourself. Like, create that for yourself. You are worthy. You're doing great. Keep moving forward and it'll be awesome. Like,
and the thing is, you've taken the step anyway, because you're doing something pretty magical.
I agree.
You know, you're going to write a book and you're going to self-publish a book, and wow is all I'm going to say to that, because how many people in this life will say to you, oh, I'm going to write a book, and they don't. Exactly. You know, like you guys really rock already.
Absolutely.
You rock the house down, because you've already written a book and you're thinking about self-publishing, or you are self-published. That's really kick-ass, and you should be very proud of yourself. Don't expect anyone else to be the one to build you up over that. You can build yourself up, because it's
we get it. We get it, and we're here to say, go you.
Go you.
Yeah. It is awesome.
Awesome work. And maybe on that note, we should.
I think on that note we should, because it's a good one.
It's a good note.
So just believe in yourself by positive self-talk, telling yourself you're worthy, finding other people to talk to who know what you're talking about. But you don't need to rely on them. Just it's nice to kind of understand.
And there's a lot of people that feel the same as you, you know, that are in that place. It's not just you.
And don't rely on what everyone else around you is saying.
And come to the Spa Girls page and talk to us if you need to.
Come to us at on Facebook at Spa Girls Podcast. We're always there to chat. Well,
Or email us at hello@spargirlspodcast.com. We're always
you can
happy
email
to,
us too.
just say hi. Just
We're
say,
here. We're here
Very
for you.
approachable. We're
Yeah.
very
We are.
chatty.
We
You
are.
might not have noticed that, but we do.
But just to end on wise Wendy's words, you're awesome and you rock.
Yeah. It's
Go
okay
you.
to just twinkle. You don't have to shine bright all the time.
No.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
cute. I totally need
Yeah,
to
I
shine
thought
bright
so.
all the time.
Yeah, I know you do, but then you're just an over shiner, let's be honest.
I'm an
I've gotta-
overshiner.
I've got to get my wick lit first.
Okay, it's time to move on. I think we've just sunk.
Okay, awesome.
Alrighty.
Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of the Spa Girls podcast. We delight in every episode, and we are so glad that you are here with us to hear our
Yes,
craziness
thank you.
and our wise
Mentalness.
words. Wendy's wise words.
Okay.
Awesome.
See
See
ya.
you all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.